5:37 on WML. You look fabulous, as you always do. Let's lift that mic up. Ann Coulter asking how she looks.
They're Facebooking
great.
live.
Hold on. Let's do that right there, and then there you go.
Ooh, you must work at a radio station.
I'm told, allegedly. Ann Coulter here. By the way, we're live at CPAC tomorrow, starting with Mornings on the Mall with Brian and Mary, then Chris Plant, and then, of course, Rush, but he won't be at CPAC. I'll be here for CPAC as well, Thursday and Friday. You're in town, Ann Coulter, but you're not going to CPAC.
Correct.
You're hanging out with Milo Yiannopoulos instead. You're going to go drink, do tequila shots or something.
I would.
Yeah, if he were here. I know. I wonder if he'll show up tomorrow. Do you think that he'll sort of do one of his stunts or something?
No.
You know Milo pretty well.
Yes, I had dinner with him a week. I was the first person in the U.S. he had dinner with. And by the way, I've been telling him since I first met him, you got to ease up on the sex stuff.
Yeah.
And I really think, that is what got him in trouble. Speaking of fake news and Donald Trump, which he is totally right about. It's totally fake news what they are saying about Milo. He didn't defend pederasty. He kept saying in that interview, he's distinguishing what real pederasty is from a 17-year-old and a 29-year-old, but people don't want to hear about it.
And on topics like that, if you aren't completely 1,000% clear and unequivocal, and if there's any room, that's what happens.
Well, you know what it reminds me of, which is weird because Bill Maher attacked him today, but it reminds me of the Bill Maher thing that got him dumped from ABC.
I just talked about this earlier in the 3 o'clock hour. I read what Bill Maher said.
His words were fine. It was, and in fact, I don't even think it was the flippancy that one night. It was just the sense that he represented the Hollywood, I don't know, the sleazy Hollywood crowd and the flippant remark. He was repeating what Dinesh had said and agreeing. And by the way, he's always been, Maher isn't a down-the-line leftist. He has sort of heterodox views on lots of things. And one of them is he loves the military. He just said in 1996 he was voting for Bob Dole because it was the last chance he would have to vote for an American hero. He's always been like that.
But he got canned from ABC News because he had made
attitude.
That comment about the 9/11
But it was all attitude. And I think it was the same thing with Milo. And also, nobody wants to hear about sex. But he was absolutely not defending pederasty.
And today, Bill Maher said to the New York Times what I think people saw after Milo appeared. He's taking credit for this, Bill Maher is.
Which is weird.
I know. Milo appeared on his show on Friday. He says, what I think people saw was an emotionally needy Ann Coulter wannabe. You see this? Trying to make a buck.
Everybody's an Ann Coulter wannabe.
I know.
That doesn't really distinguish him. I think he's more than that.
He says, as I say, sunlight is the best disinfectant. And then he said, you're welcome. And this is hard for you. You're actually friends with both Bill and Milo. Right. So why is he dragging you into this?
Well, he was getting attacked on the left, and I had nothing to do with that. I thought Milo's appearance was fantastic. At least what I saw. I don't subscribe to HBO, so I saw it was posted online, and I thought he was great. As just, little rule of thumb, right-wingers, when all of the panelists' only response to you is go F yourself, you've won. When you leave them spluttering and, you're cursing like Linda Blair in The Exorcist, you have won, and that's what he did. And he was charming and nice. So, no, it was nothing with that appearance. The problem with CPAC is the problem that, as I wrote about in my column that has just been posted, not specifically about CPAC, it's about congressional Republicans. I hate every single one of them except Tom Cotton and 6 others. I think it's exactly 6 others. I should probably list them all at some point, but that's it. And the rest of them, Trump has taken on this entire town. And for years, I've advised young conservatives, don't go to Washington, go make money, go do what you're good at. What Trump did. And look at how he beat them all over. For Pete's sake, look at him. That Access Hollywood tape. What do we have to do to convince you that we hate you, Washington? Yeah. And the same thing that all of these Washington insiders and the dorky little think tanks and these, the losers with their I don't even want to mention all the think tanks.
You can, it's all
with
right.
their, and they work their way up the political ladder so they can run for the House and run for the Senate, and then they're just all scaredy cats.
They become part of the mob mentality in this town.
Independent thinking. Anyone who's ever heard John McCain talk knows they're not bright people. So, of course, Donald Trump has like 6 times their IQ. And even with all of his baggage, he slays all of them. He was never not ahead in the polls, comes in and wins, and they still can't learn. And the exact same dorks that destroyed the Republican Party have now destroyed CPAC because, Matt Schlapp is just dying. Someone will run after him and ask for his photo someday. So there are no stars at CPAC. I saw them. I was noticing this last night because, they're so excited. They're all getting invited on TV so they can say who's a conservative and who isn't, because Milo's not a conservative. And today, the media is full of them all giving long quotes saying, "We condemn racism." What the F? I'm sorry. How long do we have to keep going there? And what was this thing that Donald Trump was going through this week with condemning anti-Semitism? Wait, can I get Wolf Blitzer and Don Lemon and Jake Tapper? Will they once and for all condemn child rape? Because I've never heard them do that.
They really haven't. It's nearly not as much as they should, it appears. And Sean Spicer actually made this point yesterday. He says, at what point is this an asked and answered kind of question?
No, it was asked and answered 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And why is it even being asked? This is a crazy thing where you keep peppering someone with some ugly accusation and demand. He had to disavow. And I still maintain that David Duke does not exist. I think he died like 20 years ago. I only hear about him every 4 years when the media wheel out the concept of David Duke to demand that every Republican disavow him.
His face does look kind of phony. It could be somebody who had reconstructive surgery.
Hillary is appearing on stage with members of Black Lives Matter at her convention. They actually, throw riots, do millions of dollars of property damage, but nobody asks her about that. After those cops were killed in Dallas, she said her response was something about how we all need to learn what it's like to be not the cops needed to learn.
Oh, right.
What it's like to be a black person in America. Oh, that's your response to cops being executed.
Yeah.
But they'll never be asked, do you hate cops? Will you disavow cop killers?
That's Ann Coulter. She's with us through this half hour. She's, of course, the author of In Trump We Trust, See Pluribus Awesome, and Adios America. And those 2 books in mind, our questions coming up in a moment, have to do with who in the Trump White House is actually working against the president, because I bet you have a hunch. And truly, there are people in this White House working against him, I think. And also your take on the Trump administration's new rules with regard to immigration and apparently keeping DACA in place. Are you ready for answering those?
Not very happy about that part.
We will hear Ann Coulter's reaction to that in a moment. Right now, it's 5:44.
Traffic and weather, the day's top stories, and you. This is the Larry O'Connor Show.
Oh, my. It's 5:49, Ann Coulter. There's some things that we're Facebook Living this, by the way, if you want to watch.
I hope you got that, because I can't say that on radio.
No, we kept that off. We're gonna cut that out.
I'm right. Laughter is the truth catching you by surprise, and your laugh proves I'm right.
The president just announced his immigration policies.
In your heart, I'm right.
There's a whole lot of good
stuff about Goldwater.
There's a whole lot of good stuff there.
Yes, there is.
But the DACA thing. Let's start with that.
Flaw.
The Dreamers.
Oh, you're starting with the tiny little flaw.
They're keeping the Dreamers.
Yeah. I think I got to say, I blame the Republicans in Congress more for this. Trump can't do everything himself. It's the world against Trump. And what are they doing? They're calling up the Washington Post and, denouncing him, opposing his policies, anything they can to undermine him. Why don't they get rid of DACA? Why don't they say no more refugees for a while? America has been taking in more refugees than the entire rest of the world combined for many decades now. How about you take some, Mexico?
Yeah. Well, they did. Didn't they pass something when they knew Obama would veto it? I thought that they passed something.
They passed lots of great stuff when it was going nowhere.
They defunded DACA, I thought, like 2.5, 3 years ago.
And they also repealed Obamacare. Where are those?
Right. And
what are they doing? Seriously, what does Paul Ryan's day look like?
I had Dave Bratt on earlier today, and I had Jim Jordan on last week, and I asked them the exact same question, which is, are you waiting for the administration to repeal Obamacare? Because you can do it right now. Both of them said it's the Republicans in the Senate and our leadership that's stopping it.
We need new leadership.
Who do you want to be Speaker of the House?
I'm not sure, but I know not Paul Ryan.
No.
If we could just start with that.
So you think the Republicans on the Hill are not only not doing anything to help Trump, but they're hurting Trump. What about
That's
inside
what
the White House?
That's about, which is fantastic, and you should all read it. It's called American Gigolos. Do you know that like 10%? I mean, this is just a casual Google search. 10% of the of the U.S. Congress is men sponging off their wives' inheritances. It's got to be higher than in any other profession. Mitch McConnell, Paul Ryan, of course, John McCain. We all know about John Kerry, Richard Blumenthal, Michael McCall. All these. What other profession has this many men sponging off their wives' inheritances?
Now, do you make the same claim about Dianne Feinstein, who is sponging off of her rich husband? See, you're being sexist now. Is something wrong with a man doing it, but not a woman?
No. Although I'm really looking forward to doing that myself, so I don't want to be too critical. No, you do expect a man to. No, I think it's a lovely thing. It's like when girls used to be teachers, and that's when we had good teachers, by the way, when they were supported by wealthy husbands and didn't have to go and work at a law firm all night. But no, I might blame them too, but at least it wasn't an inheritance. And I also don't, I noticed that the self-made men are also disproportionately Republicans. Yeah. But this entire profession, that tells you the kind of people we're dealing with. They personally hate Donald Trump because he not only made his own money, he wasn't at one of these dork think tanks where bright, energetic college kids go to die and end up just being losers. They end up Paul Ryan 40 years later. No, go out in the world, make your way, and then run for office and crush everyone like Donald Trump did. You could even be caught on hot mic tape saying absolutely outrageous things. And America will so hate Washington, they'll say, screw it, we're putting you in the White House.
Do you think we're going to see a replication in districts around the country of what they're calling the Trump effect? That Trumpism is going to start bringing in a whole new breed of congressmen?
I hope so. I hope so. I think so. The one thing I'm worried about, and I think it's worth saying because they're trying to use the chic word these days, normalizing Trump. No, the bad thing that has gotten normalized is the idea that you come to Washington as a profession. What Trump has done is weird, only if you weren't around for the writing of the Constitution. When you were supposed to go off, be a silversmith, be a farmer, come and lend your services temporarily to the United States government. Not anymore. Now we have these losers here for life. No wonder Trump smells like a rose compared to these guys.
Do you think he's going to run for a second term?
Oh, yeah, and I think he's going to win huge.
You don't think he's going to get a bunch of stuff accomplished his first term and say, you know what, I'm going to set a precedent here. Yeah.
Too much to do. Plus, he needs to help change the Congress and get more Trumps, because right now it's Tom Cotton.
I like Tom Cotton too, by the way.
No, he is. It's weird. He's going out of his way to try to make himself my favorite senator.
I've got one more. I still need to ask you about this White House, because I think that there are people working against this president.
I'm dying. I'm all ears.
No, you need to tell me. Ann Coulter stays with us. Thank God. Don't ever go anywhere, Ann Coulter.
Live and local. You're listening to The Larry O'Connor Show.
Finishing up here with Ann Coulter, and it's so delightful to have you in town. You're going to be on Tucker Carlson, my new favorite show on Fox News tonight. So
yes, and I will not be screaming that Trump is literally a fascist.
That was great last night. Oh, she was wonderful. I don't know why they keep coming on Tucker's show.
Well, somebody, I don't know if you saw, I think I retweeted this. Somebody did, I think it was Newsbusters. They have her saying the exact same thing about Bush.
Oh, in the same way?
She's just 8 years. We've got to get rid of Bush Cheney. They're fascists.
Where are these leaks coming from in the White House? Because they're hurting.
I have no idea.
They're not
I'm all ears.
Well, I
think it's the permanent bureaucracy. I mean, that people don't understand that. I mean, in Washington, they understand. So I'm telling your audience nothing. But the people who run the government are the career bureaucrats, which is a great thing about having a cheap Scot as our president. He's going to see a lot of wasted jobs. I think we can get rid of so many permanent jobs.
When do you expect that to happen, by the way? I mean, when I open up the lines and say, what do you want from the Trump presidency, probably 25% of the calls, 30% of the calls after immigration are about when are people going to get fired.
That's fantastic.
When are people going to get fired? And these are people who work in the federal government, but they know where the redundancy is. These are people who work in the Pentagon.
It's hard. I mean, it takes a long time. this isn't like just replacing one establishment government with another establishment government. This is something all new. So, we don't even have the cabinet nominees all confirmed yet, and they're going to oversee their departments. That will take some time, but hopefully it will be done, and it will be done permanently.
Don't be a stranger. We love talking to you.
If only we could get rid of the Republican senators.